Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here with the Dark Elves, going to be taking on the Tomb Kings. And yeah, without further ado, let's get to the army compositions. Supreme Sorceress Laura of Fire is going to be commanding my force. She's got Fireball, Flaming Sword of Ruin, and the Burning Head. In terms of the army itself, we've got the front line here of some Dread Spears. We've got Blades of the Blood Queen and one Sister of Slaughter, with the Hellebroni on the right flank. We've got one Canaanite Assassin hidden in the woods up here in the very front, and we've also got 4 Reaper Bolt Throwers. Yes, indeed, gone very heavy on the artillery here today. Reaper Bolt Throwers I find are quite good against the Tomb Kings and helping to counter some of what my opponents got here, which is Ushabti Great Bows. We've also got 2 units of Harpies to tie things down, and I decided to give these guys a shot here. The Regiment of Renown Dark Riders Raven Heralds. These guys are on Dark Pegasi, have much heavier missile damage, obviously lower model count. They did get an HP buff in the last patch, but they're still very squishy. You definitely don't want them getting shot at. But yeah, my idea was we could neutralize threats, tie stuff down with the Harpies, and then potentially use them to shoot at some armored constructs. For my opponent's build, he does have these 2 Ushabti Great Bows, one of which I believe is the Chosen of the Gods. Yep. He's also got Khalida here, so Khalida's got her missile units. The Supreme Sorceress has got her missile units, so we're in for a little bit of an old school shootout. Khalida's also got a Lich Priest Lore of Light here, Shem's Burning Gaze, Foz Protection, and Net of Amatok, as well as the scroll that gives additional power recharge rate. In terms of the rest of the army for the Tomb Kings, we've got some Spearmen, looks like the Scorpion Legion, Kepler Guard, and some more Tomb Guard hidden throughout the woods here, the Blessed Legion, Regiment of Renowned Skeleton Archers, and one Screaming Skull Catapult. Been seeing a bit more of those lately, interesting choice. We've also got one Skeleton Archer Chariot, so you can see I'm already starting to trying to start tying down these Ushabti Great Bows here, while the Bolt Throwers get in a position to start firing. They're doing some decent damage so far, nothing too crazy, but interestingly enough, this Screaming Skull Catapult actually routes off these Harpies. Harpies don't have the greatest leadership to begin with, and the Screaming Skull is able to route them off, which is pretty interesting overall. Been seeing these guys more lately, so maybe they're a bit more effective. I'll have to give them a shot here. But you can see Khalida's trying to buff up these 2 Ushabti Great Bows, but this is exactly what you don't want to do, is try and stand and trade with 4 Bolt Throwers. All these Bolt Throwers have been juiced up with the extra chevrons as well to increase their accuracy and refire rate. And you can see, despite this one taking heavy fire, they're just chucking out bolts at a pretty good rate here, and especially with 4 units all focus firing on one position, they're just putting out an immense volume of fire with the armor-piercing anti-large, while the Harpies just kind of run around and tie things down. I decided to fly these Harpies over, see if we couldn't get on that Screaming Skull Catapult potentially to shut it down. It's more or less wasting its ammo right now on my Harpies, which is fine by me. Got the Raven Heralds in a safe position, as I did discover the Blessed Legion here. Don't want them getting shot at, so we pulled them back for now until we can potentially tie them down. You can see the chariots are coming forward here. I decided to move my infantry up to protect the Bolt Throwers, but yeah, the Harpies unfortunately do shatter there just due to the leadership damage from that Screaming Skull Catapult. So pretty decent overall, but my opponent really not pressing into his advantage here because I don't have much mobility. If he was really aggressive with his micro, he could get in here and start running shop a little bit with these Skeleton Archer Chariots. One unit I failed to mention earlier, he does have the Regiment of Renowned Sepulchral Stalkers as well. Over here, hidden in the woods, they also have stock, so they're going to be a sneaky little ambush. But speaking of ambushes, my opponent didn't quite catch this in time, or if he did, these Scorpion Legion aren't going to be able to stop this crew from taking a lot of damage here, and this is great for me. We're tying this down as well as potentially taking it out, so we've got the Bolt Throwers now focusing fire on these Archer Chariots. Not doing the most damage. We're hitting a lot of the trees, and just the slope is not great, so we're gonna change our targeting in just a moment here, but you can see we've done enough damage to start this Screaming Skull Catapult to crumbling, and once the crew crumbles away, obviously they won't be able to man the pieces there, so we've taken a bit of an initiative advantage in that respect. You can see the Eyes of the Desert now pushing up and around this flank. They are going to have to be careful though. If they get spotted, they could potentially start taking a lot of fire. But we'll see. The Tomb King player now deciding to push forward, probably wise, but we're going to start focus firing on Khalida, and she's going to take a nasty volley there from all those bolt throwers. We're going to change targeting in just a moment and try and finish off these great bows here, both of which are down to only 4 unit models. Pretty unfortunate, but yeah, the bolt throwers are definitely pretty serious artillery pieces, especially en masse like this. So, Tomb King player definitely would have benefited from trying to push forward earlier, but, you know, it is what it is. Balance power is still relatively even, although it is definitely in my favor slightly. You can see the Supreme Sorceress here kind of chasing off these chariots. She was getting in there, mixing it up a little bit. Might have got 1 or 2 of them, but you can see we're flying these Raven Heralds over. We're going to start using them to shoot at these Eyes of the Desert as soon as I spot them here, which my troops have just spotted them, but I, as a commander, haven't quite spotted them yet. But yeah, you can see we're about to finish off the Chosen of the Gods here. This other unit of Ushabti Great Bows is crumbling, and the infantry engagement is now getting underway. Tomb Guard will cut through the Hellebroni, although it will take them some time due to their good melee defense. But Sisters of Slaughter against Kepler Guard is one engagement I do want to highlight here. The most elite infantry for the Tomb Kings still only has 50 armor, and although they do have pretty solid combat stats and magic damage, they're getting cut to pieces by these Sisters of Slaughter. It's not even close at this point. But yeah, the Sepulchral Stalkers are rolling through the back line, starting to roll up a lot of the bolt throwers, but I've already got some pretty good value and used up a lot of my ammo from them, so that's not the end of the world. It's also allowing these Raven Heralds to start to unleash some of their ammo, and you can see each bolt that makes contact there doing a pretty solid amount of damage, dropping that Flaming Sword of Ruin in the front line, and we're going to start trying to use the Supreme Sorceress to pop off some fireballs at Khalida there, because obviously this petty, jealous sorcerer going to be sending her flaming wrath at High Queen Khalida there. But yeah, you can see K-Knight Assassin kind of kiting away here. We're leading these Scorpion Legion on a bit of a goose chase, while the Harpies come down and start to tie down the Blessed Legion there. They probably won't necessarily win that engagement, but they'll be able to tie them down, at least for some time. Speaking of tying down, that's exactly what these Reaper Bolt Throwers are doing now, tying down these Eyes of the Desert for the one remaining Bolt Thrower to continue firing, and those Raven Heralds doing some really good damage as well. If we can take them out, that's more or less paid for the Raven Heralds. They're only 1,000 points compared to, I think, about 1,500. I don't remember exactly for the Eyes of the Desert, but Supreme Sorceress overcasting a fireball there. Let's see if it makes solid contact with Khalida. Looks like Khalida does not dodge, and solid contact does a decent amount of damage. And yeah, the magic missiles in general, I noticed, have been buffed a little bit, and they definitely seem to be better. Fireball in particular, of course, against targets who are weak to fire. You get that Kindle Flame proc on top of it, and you get very significant extra damage there. So you can see Blades of the Blood Queen pushing up. My opponent's going to net them down in just a moment and hit them with the nice chariot charge here. These chariots, despite taking a lot of damage earlier on, still online. And all things considered, the balance power is still pretty close. He's been able to roll up pretty much all of my crews. Some of the crews have come back from routing. I'm just keeping them in reserve for now until I can run forward and try and man some of the pieces. But the K-Knight Assassin is still relatively healthy. The overcasts are costing. My Supreme Sorceress has taken a lot of damage from overcasting fireballs, so I'm going to have to be careful to not take too much damage, although really the only unit that could potentially deal damage is this Leech Priest. Does have Shem's Burning Gaze, and obviously the Blessed Legion, who are currently focusing on Blades of the Blood Queen very aptly. The Net of Amontok sundering the armor as well, so the chariots will do more impact damage and just do more damage overall, so very good stuff. Then following up with these Eyes of the Desert here, doing a ton of damage to these Blades of the Blood Queen. Thankfully, Blades of the Blood Queen, being a very elite regiment renowned, have excellent leadership and are currently weathering the storm. Another fireball popping off, making solid contact with Khalida there. She's getting very low, and you can see the infantry fight's definitely going in my favor. Sisters of Slaughter cleaning up quite a few units here. Those Eyes of the Desert are just about to crumble, and the Raven Heralds have a tiny bit of ammunition left that we're going to try and hit Khalida with. So let's see how they do here. And yeah, we are taking some fire from the Blessed Legion there, but given the order, they haven't quite fired there. It looks like they just maybe used some of their last volley there, but yeah, Chariot's also doing some good work, still running shop, trying to finish off Blades of the Blood Queen there and those Dread Spears, but here comes a fireball from the Supreme Sorceress, and that should be enough. Ooh, not quite to finish off Khalida. Still about 500 HP there. Raven Heralds are out of ammo, but we still have, obviously, Flaming Sword of Ruin, a few more pocket fireballs, and so on. So Very nice explosion there from Kalita to do a ton of damage to the Raven Heralds. They don't have a whole lot of HP, so I'm going to immediately just pull them back. Try and use them as a rear charge force. The K-Knight Assassin going to be trying to go after this Lich Priest here. You can see he's going to point blank. Oh, no, looks like he's actually turning his attention. Oh, there he is. Shooting the Lich Priest as I thought he would. Yeah, at this point, Skeleton Archer Chariot still online. Very good micro for my opponent to keep these guys online, and some Shabti being summoned to get on the Blades of the Blood Queen to try and finish them off. At this point, though, Kalita's in big trouble. I just dropped a Flaming Sword of Ruin here, and the Dread Spears do indeed finish her off there, so a bit of an ignominious end there for Kalita. Poor Snake Lady against this generic Supreme Sorceress, but yeah, Supreme Sorceress, you know, with her style and kicks and her, you know, generic Supreme brand hat. Definitely going to be carrying the day here. Another Fireball going down, making okay contact with that Lich Priest, and enough to send him probably into crumbling there, yep. So with his leadership disappearing, the rest of the Tomb King's units won't be able to hold their leadership, and of course the Shabti at this point are just going to degenerate. So my opponent will admit defeat shortly, but very fun battle. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. First time really using the Raven Heralds to any good effect. They were pretty effective in taking out that Regiment of Renowned Sepulchral Stalker. I mean, that in and of itself was probably enough to pay for themselves, and then of course they did a bit of damage to Kalita as well. Still, you know, probably not the most competitive pick, but in a matchup that I already think favors the Dark Elves, I think you can definitely get away with them. But obviously the real weight being carried, well, not real, but a lot of the weight being carried there by the Bolt Throwers, taking out those Shabti Greatbows, just completely negated them from the get-go. It's quite a bit of resources wasted there, and then of course Sisters of Slaughter just cutting down the Kepler Guard as well. They're not that much more expensive. They're only, what, 50 points more expensive than the Kepler Guard, but they just cut them to pieces, which is pretty unfortunate for the Tomb Kings. Definitely think that Sisters of Slaughter are a very strong pick in this matchup, as long as they don't get shot up by something like Skeleton Archers too much. But yeah, Harpies kind of did their job of tying things down and wasting some shots, although they're a little bit of an expensive kind of chaff unit, but they definitely paid for themselves in this game. And of course I've already highlighted the Raven Heralds there. Hellbroni also did very well, considering they're fighting Tomb Guard. That's a pretty solid amount of kills, and just the poison and the melee defense makes these guys a really tough combatant in all situations, even against you know, kind of mid-tier infantry. It helps the Tomb Guard don't have too much armor in general. But yeah, Kalita had a bit of a rough day there, just getting blasted by continuous fireballs, and really never found a home in terms of a melee engagement. Her missile buffs also didn't pay off very well with the Shabti Greatbows, and I honestly think my opponent could change a few things about his army and get a little bit better value from the Kalita missile buff. When you guys have seen me take it before, I'll usually include 2 Bone Giants, which is a pretty heavy investment, and in this particular battle I probably would have been able to outtrade them with my Bolt Throwers, although that's not for certain. If he had the Bone Giants and the Shabti Greatbows all focus firing and trying to take out the different artillery pieces, he may have been able to out artillery skirmish, although it would have been pretty costly potentially. But yeah, in a situation like this, Carrion can be great for trying to get in and tie down the Bolt Throwers, although of course I had the Harpies to try and respond to Carrion if I needed to. Just in general, you know, it's a pretty tough engagement. Like I said, I do think this matchup favors the Dark Elves, excuse me, a little bit, but if you're going to go with the Kalita missile build, I would suggest you invest heavier in the missiles, go with more Shabti Greatbows and more, you know, maybe a Bone Giant or 2. Screaming Skull Catapult did okay, but I really don't see a great use for these guys, so I'd probably cut that. And Eyes of the Desert can be a pretty solid pick, although the AP missiles from the Dark Elves can be pretty tough, so I might just cut these guys and go with a wider infantry line. Same thing with the Kepler Guard. They're a bit of an overinvestment. The Tomb Guard can be pretty solid in this matchup. They can cut through a lot of Dark Elf infantry, although the higher tier infantry will definitely take them to town. So it may be worth just going much wider and you know, supporting in different areas. And you know, if you're not going to go with missiles, you probably want to take Cetra or Arcan instead. But that's all kind of theory crafting. I'll have to play this matchup a bit more from the Tomb King side to see how all the new stuff affects the matchup. But I like the Supreme Sorceress Lore of Fire quite a bit, and just generally having a sorcerer or sorceress rather, Lord with Lore of Fire up in the air can be very effective against the Tomb Kings. I have a replay I'm going to be showing you guys very shortly with Chaos doing something similar with a sorcerer on a fire dragon. But that's for another day. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.